Welcome to Partnerships for Profit, the podcast where we bring you inside the world of joint ventures, strategic partnerships, and powerful collaborations. Whether you're looking to expand your network, find new referral partners, or scale your business, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Partnership for Profits. We're running just a little bit behind because we had some technical difficulties, as happens when you are live streaming a podcast, but we figured it out, didn't we, Greg?
Yes, we did.
We got a great guest today. I'm talking with Greg Stevens, who is the founder of Alignment Resources and the author of Build New Bridges. Greg, I'm super excited to have you on. I'm super glad we got our sound issues worked out and we can hear each other. How are you doing today, man? I'm glad to have you on the podcast.
I'm doing great. Well, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So tell me and tell our audience a little bit about Alignment Resources and what you do over there.
Yeah, I have a real specialty. We actually help people with their most difficult conversations and relationships they need to repair. And so I go in and work with people or coach them on how to have the conversations. And I do a 6-month program where we teach people how to be able to do this for life, because there's a lot of training programs out there that are excellent. And I taught one, Crucial Conversations, for 24 years, and people would have breakthroughs. But I found that people needed practice to make it permanent. So that's what I do now. I coach people, and I also work with executive teams, helping them structure messages to high stakes individuals.
So difficult conversations. Give me an example of what a difficult conversation is that you're helping someone kind of work through.
Yeah, well, one is I worked with a group of police officers just recently, the chiefs and the captains, and there was internal issues where they needed to work on some things that were going on and get straight with each other. So I taught them how to do that and get in and have the conversation in a way that built the relationship rather than damaged it. Usually we get in, we get so frustrated, we don't know how to approach those in a way that actually is going to work for our favor rather than against us. So it could be anything from someone cleaning up something with relatives to a CEO working with their board in a real tough issue, or maybe their intact team. So I work with people that are heads of the organizations that are actually leading change, and they need to be able to influence their people rather than command decisions. There's a time for command decisions, but there's also a time to have a really hard conversation and an accountability conversation. All of these are the type of conversations that I help people with.
Love that. So let's start with the origin story, Greg. What's the moment in your career that kind of led you into Alignment Resources and made you realize how critical alignment and everybody being on the same page and having how to have those different, what's the genesis of the business?
Yeah, well, it came from when I started teaching things like Crucial Conversations, I thought I want to be the type of leader that practices what they teach. So I had this crazy idea that I'm going to go clean up all my past relationships as an example. And I made a list of 36 different people, and it took me 2.5 years to do it. But I actually learned how to apply what I was teaching on a daily basis. And since that time, I've coached and trained tens of thousands of people how to do this. And I have my own system of doing it based on many other different disciplines.
36 people over, you said 2 years?
2.5 years. Yeah.
I bet that we all have a list of way more than 36 people that we need to have a difficult conversation with about something that might have happened in the past or whatever it was. Is that kind of what you did? You just kind of did like a mental inventory and put the names down?
Yeah. And my criteria was, if I saw that person walking down a hall and I had an alternate way to get to my office, and I'd take that alternate way rather than pass that person, that was the litmus test.
Okay.
And so it was any person I was actually going to avoid. I didn't know how to have that conversation, or didn't want to in many of the cases. And the only reason I did, it's interesting because people say, are you asking us to do that? No, I just want to help people to be able to have the conversations that they choose to have. I did that as an example to actually show my people that I had done that work. And some of those conversations were one and done. One person I had to go back to 7 different times. So there's no, perfection in what we do. There's just improvement. And that's what I challenge my people day after day. What would a 10% improvement over the next year look like for you?
That's amazing. That's quite an exercise. That almost sounds like it's probably not too critical, but it reminds me of like 12-step programs, making amends for the people that you've affected with whatever your addiction might be or whatever it might be. It kind of sounds similar to that.
And a lot of people have come to talk to me about that. Did I come from that space? And I didn't. I hadn't even thought of it until someone brought it up to me. But it is a lot like that. But also, some of those conversations weren't actually trying to fix anything or make amends. They were just being able to speak my truth respectfully. Many times it was, I just needed to say this to let it go. Or this is something you might not have even known there was an issue here, but I needed to clean that up with you because it was an issue for me, and that's on me. And I wasn't expecting anything from the people I talked with.
Sure.
I just needed to go practice what I was telling people.
I would imagine that both parties walk away from conversations like that probably feeling better for the most of the time. I'm sure sometimes people are like, you know what, I don't really want to talk to you. Sure, that's fine. But, and then I think that probably goes with any difficult conversation that you're going to have. If you just having the conversation, just starting it is, I imagine that's kind of once it starts, conversation is going to happen. People are going to start flowing.
Absolutely. You don't have to be perfect at it. There are conversations I thought were going to go poorly that went well, and those I thought were going to go well went poorly. So you can never really tell what's going to happen. But when you do, when I did that, what I found was there was something on the other end. Most people say, well, I don't want to have that conversation. I don't either. I'm with you. I want what's on the other side of that conversation, I found out, though. And to get there, you have to go through it. And when you see that that's where the gold is, people are more willing to do it. That's just it. Most of us don't know what is on the other side of that because we haven't tried it enough, or we've written it off, or we ghosted someone. And we walk around giving that person all of our personal power. We put them in charge of the engagements that we have with them or don't have with them.
Love that. That's an exercise that maybe I should try the exercise. Maybe I should see if I can find 36 people that I need to have a difficult conversation with. So we hear the word alignment a lot in business, for sure. But you have a specific way of defining it. What does true alignment mean to you, Greg?
Well, I think what most of us think about when people are working at a business, they mistake alignment with awareness. Most of us have an awareness. If I'm a leader, I come in and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do this. But if I polled the room, I bet more than half wouldn't be, if you're on a scale of 1 to 5, well, I'm a 5 or a 6. That's not alignment. That's awareness. And so alignment really comes in when we're all committed to what we say we're going to do. That's a 9 or a 10. And if I'm not there, be honest about it. And how do I move up 1 rung? How do I get from a 6 to a 7? How do I move from a 7 to an 8? We need to take little steps, but we need to look at what are we actually going for. And to me, alignment means everyone holds each other accountable. It's not just the CEO. It's not a middle manager. If we're all going this way and I find your behavior isn't lined up with that, how can I approach that in a way that actually builds the relationship rather than damages it, because people know I care about them and I understand how difficult things are. Doesn't mean I let them off the hook. It means I hold them accountable to a higher standard in a way that I build that relationship.
So what happens in a business, or maybe even in your personal life, when people are out of alignment? What are we looking at?
Well, right now I've got it in my business. I've got the last 24 to 36 hours, there's been a lot of things that have hit, and we don't have alignment today. And now I've got to pull everyone together and find out first what's going on, find out what's happening, where the breakdowns are, and begin to find out what the underlying cause of that is. Most of us, we want a quick prescription without ever diagnosing. And we need to sit down with my team and actually look at what's working, what's not, why did this happen? Let's look at, was it an ability issue? Was it a motivation issue? What were all the different things? Do we need to put resources here? I need to look at the underlying cause. Then I need to look at a plan to do it. But I need to get all the information. And if I go in guns blazing with my team, I'm going to shut down the exact information that I'm trying to get from.
So let's shift gears for a minute, Greg.
Yeah.
Talk about your book. Your book's called Build New Bridges. I want to know a little bit about the book, and I want to know what that metaphor represents to you and how it ties into your work with leaders and organizations.
Well, it's interesting because I wasn't going to call my book Build New Bridges, The Art of Restoring Impossible Relationships. I was just going to go with The Art of Restoring Impossible Relationships. But I worked with a marketing team, and one of the things they said, and it really landed for me, they said, you build bridges in relationships. Usually things that we burn down or tore down, you need to put that in the title. And I was like, you're right, I do. When you build a bridge, there's a foundation that goes there. You don't just jump in and throw a bridge up overnight. It takes some work. It takes some planning. If I'm going to do that, I need to be prepared. And we don't throw people into the deep conversations right away. We help them build up those relationships along the way. So when those hard conversations come, they know what maintenance they need to do to them.
So the book is it's called Build New Bridges: The Art of Restoring Impossible Relationships.
Yeah.
So
it came about real quick by those 36 conversations that I went and had. I felt like I needed to share with people my application, my personal life, about how I applied what I had learned and taught in Crucial Conversations for years. I still use Crucial Conversations as a background for what we teach people. The application is where everything comes together. And so that's what I talk about in the book, is where I've applied it, where it's been difficult, where others have applied it, the success and breakdowns. You don't get to have a breakthrough until there's a breakdown. Most people want breakthroughs, but they want to avoid the breakdowns. It doesn't work like that. But when I can start to see that here's the breakdown, what's on the other side of that, that's what the book's all about, walking through how difficult it could be, whether it's at home or work, because we all have at least one or more conversations that we think are just impossible. We know there's conversations we need to have, but we think there's no way that one will ever happen. I love to take those and see what happens on the other side.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to check out the book. I'm gonna have to get a copy, for sure. So let's talk about team alignment in action. What are some practical tools or some frameworks that you use to get teams truly aligned and moving in the same direction?
Well, the first thing I do with teams is I have them sit down and have conversations one-on-one about what respect looks like to each other. And most people think that's kind of weird. And I've touted this for years. I even worked with a priest a couple of months ago, and he said, Greg, this is a hard conversation to have. And he said, I didn't think it would, but most of us have never sat down and asked someone next to you, how do you define respect? And I want to make sure I'm treating you respectful. If I don't, let's talk about that. Now let's set some agreements out. But most people, it is an awkward conversation if you've never had it before. It's almost like talking about money with someone you don't know. It's really weird when you first start talking about respect. Even if you're watching this, go home and have a respect conversation with your spouse tonight. Sit down and look at what respect looks like to them. Find out what happens just in that conversation. I had a gentleman, he was working with me. He's a managing partner at a law firm. He was talking about all the drama that went into the law firm. And he went and started having respect conversations as the managing partner with everyone who reported directly to him. And he said, Greg, he said, I saw the drama in our organization drop by about 40% in about 3 weeks without me doing anything else. But it actually starts to snowball where people go, well, maybe the leader's doing this. Maybe I'll go have this conversation with this person. What does that look like? Because most people don't have the intention of treating you disrespectfully. Yet right. I suggest everyone you have a conflict with, there's probably some level of feeling disrespected at that moment, but you probably never talked about that real core issue. That's the very first thing. When you do that, you have a landing pad to hold people accountable. Then you can start putting agreements into your relationships, because on teams, we usually have an assumption. Most people assume how they're going to talk through differences with their boss. They don't have agreements about it.
What's the question again? What does respect mean to you?
Well, yeah. How do you define respect? How do you know when you're being how do you know when you're being disrespected? For those listening, here's how I define respect. Give me the benefit of the doubt. And if I don't deserve the benefit of the doubt, pull me aside and let me know why. Coach me to my blind spot, because it's not my intention to treat anyone disrespectful. So if you're feeling that, pull me aside. Let me know. I don't know. I only know the world from my view. I need to hear it from yours. I'm willing to listen. And it's so interesting, because most of the time when someone comes to us and they say, well, I feel disrespected here, we want to tell them why they're not. So we just disrespected again. We actually wiped away their perspective. But what if I went, wow, that's not my intent. Never my intent. Help me understand what I did. What was my behavior? Because Stephen Covey said it years ago. We judge others by their behavior. We judge ourselves by our intentions. We don't see our behavior. Everyone else does. We only see our intention. But you know what? Everyone else only sees their intention. They don't see their behavior. And It gets us into a lot of problems until we begin talking about it.
So that kind of leads into what I want to talk about next. I want to talk about alignment versus agreement. Because I think you've said before that alignment doesn't always mean agreement. Can you unpack that a little bit and why that distinction matters in a leadership role, especially?
Absolutely. Because one of the things most people can tell you after a meeting, what we've agreed to, this is the direction we're going. And some people say, oh, it's flavor of the month, it'll pass, or something else will happen. And we'll get off of that. And we have competing priorities. And so we tend to think, well, this is more important for my performance review. Well, that's not alignment. That's every individual trying to go for themselves.
Right.
But when I have true alignment, people are saying, this is priority, even over mine. That's where you get people sacrificing things. That's where you get team effort. That's where you get amazing results. But we tend not to do that because we never deal with the real underlying piece. And it comes down to respect again, about what's in it for you. Let's make sure you get your needs met, but this is what the team is going for. Do you agree with this? Do you not? If not, why not? Can you get on board? There's a lot of different conversations, but they take a little more time. The alternative takes much longer, though, because you don't hit the goals. You don't have people in alignment, and you don't have each other holding each other accountable. I always feel like the hierarchy of an organization is really how decisions are made. The middle manager is just as vital as the CEO, as is the person making the sales. We need to be in alignment. That's everyone going forward together. But so many organizations, they're scattered, they're fractured. And if you ask an executive team, your top 3 goals you need by the end of the year, what I find is typically if you have 7 executives, you have 21 different answers. Because everyone's going different ways, even on the executive team. So if it doesn't start at the top, it's never going to go throughout the organization. And how do you do that? You break it down and you get together in a room and you start hashing it out. What do we need? What are the key things that are going to pull us forward? And that's what we want to be able to, as a leader, it's our job to get people in alignment like that. Otherwise, we're herding cats and we're not going the same direction. As the leader, your vision is so important, and that's your influence. We have to build that bridge from our people's brains to what we're trying to achieve, and we need to do it consistently throughout the entire organization.
So you mentioned get in a room, have the conversations with each other. What's the right time and setting because I feel like if a leadership team is going to come together, right? And let's say it's a CEO who's worked with you and has gotten the coaching in, and then brings in their team and is like, okay, guys, we got this meeting today. We're having our leadership meeting, and we're going to have difficult conversations today. Inevitably, there are going to be people in that room who are totally uncomfortable with that in a group setting, and maybe want to have that conversation one-on-one. And there's going to be other people who are like, yeah, let's get it all out here right now. Let's go. So what's the right time and place to have these conversations on a leadership team to where it's effective, and you don't have someone who's just kind of sitting out, like, this is not for me. If I was one-on-one, I could do this, but not in a group setting. What's the optimal way to do that?
Well, I found, and I'll give you one example. I'm a professional mediator as well, and I call them team mediations. And what I do is I actually talk to each person on the team one-on-one, find out what they want, what they're trying to do, what problems they have, and everything they tell me is between us. I do not throw them under the bus. It gives me a clear view of everything. Sure. Then we take time to teach them how to have some of these conversations, because we just assume people say, go have the conversation. But if you don't teach people how,
right,
you just set them up. They need to understand how. Then you give them time to do it. It's not just a quick fix. You give them maybe a 6-week time frame to do it. And I did this back in 2005 with a nonprofit board of directors that was battling each other. If I said them, you'd probably know who they were. But we did that whole process, and it's so interesting because we met in St. Louis on a Friday night, and everyone got together, and they were having the best time that night because they'd had these conversations. And the next morning, it was 7:30 in the morning when we got together at the Marriott in a conference room. They said, "Oh, your part's pretty much done." I said, "Why do you think that?" They said, "Oh, we're all getting along and everything's well." And I looked at them, I go, yeah, and I have to say, it kind of made me nauseous, because you don't go from the conversations you had after one conversation and have it all handled. I said, but we're not leaving here today, because we looked at our common purpose, what we were doing. So we're not leaving here today until we're all in alignment and all the past is done. That was at 7:30 in the morning. Will, you know what time we left?
Midnight?
3:30 a.m. the next morning. Now, here's what's interesting. People stayed with it because they were committed to something great. And it was interesting because one of their big people who donate, one of the large companies who donates, came to me and said, "What did you do with the board of directors?" I'm like, "What do you mean? The fist fight break out?" They said, "No." They said it usually took them 2 years to make any decision because they were always bickering and fighting. We proposed something to them, and they sat there and started fighting. They said, "Hey, let's get back to our skills that we're taught." He said they talked through it and made a decision in 45 minutes. We weren't ready for that. We've never seen that. He said, I want to know what you did. And I walked him through what we did. He said, "It's amazing. I've never seen a group change so much." And I have that time after time after time when I work with people. I've had people turn an entire aluminum plant that provides for the automobile industry, actually an entire plant's culture changed in a 4-month period because the leader really changed how they did things. And it went throughout the entire organization, the whole plant floor. And the HR director said, "I had no idea change could happen like that." But it takes a leader to be able to do it, because people are looking at the leaders. And that's just it. So many leaders are like, "You serve me." Well, that's one way to do it, but that's really slow. And you'll play politics all day. But what if a leader came up and said, "I'm going to lead. I'm going to actually do what the word says. I'm going to lead by example."
Love that. Love that. I can't imagine being in a group setting meeting from 7:30 in the morning to 3:30 in the,
I never want to do that again either. And I haven't had to do it since. I have had some family businesses that took anywhere between 5 to 6 hours after we did that. And those are really tough, but there was nothing like that one I was telling you. But the results on the other side of that were
Right.
worth every hour we spent there.
So what are some, Greg, what are some daily or weekly practices that you personally use to stay aligned with your own purpose? What are some things you're doing?
Well, I'm constantly reading, listening. I listen to positive messages. I believe you have to. Readers are leaders are readers, or readers are leaders, however you want to say it. I find if you're not reading, your level of leadership, you only have so much. You need the only reason I'm where I am is standing on the shoulders of giants, the people who have come before me. I read constantly the books, like I said, Crucial Conversations, read Tony Robbins, I read Brene Brown, Simon Sinek, anything I can get my hands on. And then I do a lot of spiritual reading as well, because I believe when you speak to that spiritual piece in people, you actually call them forth to a deeper level. And I need to understand what different spiritualities believe and things like that. So I'm looking to connect with people and be able to speak into their listening. That's just it. Most of us, we have to hear what people are saying before we can speak into that listening, though. And most of us aren't curious. We're judgmental. I know, because I was one of the most judgmental people I know on the planet for a long time.
I'll tell
And
you
I've
what,
been working on that.
hosting a podcast will make you far less judgmental and will make you listen way more than you have. Like if you on this show, I've talked to lots of different people doing lots of different things, and I find myself being a more inquisitive person than I used to be because of the pod. It's just the nature of when you're in that host seat. And you said you have a podcast. That's just it's kind of a requirement. You cannot have a podcast with a guest if you're not actively listening and taking what they're giving you to further the conversation. So it's been great to the podcast has been worked wonders for me on that end of things. So I don't know if you found the same thing hosting your pod.
Exactly the same thing. That's why I feel like I've gotten better recently in my podcasting, because I've become a better listener, and I've been working on specific listening skills for more than 10 years. And I can't tell you, it's the true superpower, because if you can truly listen, it's amazing what happens. You don't have to talk too much.
Yep.
Ask great questions. Get to know the other person. That's where the gold lives anyway. I've learned, if I'm talking, I haven't learned anything new. But if you're sharing something with me, I'm like, wow, that's gold. You're giving me insight into you, connection into you. Also, you give me the clarity of how you think. So if I ever want to engage with you on something, I'm like, okay, Will thinks this way. How can I put my message together in a way where he can hear it, not manipulate him? There's a difference between the dialogue and manipulation. Manipulation, I can't show you what my real intent is.
Right.
But if I can show you my intent, I'm trying to carve a message out so for your benefit, for our benefit, so you can see or hear it through that lens. But I probably need to listen to you for a while to figure out what that is.
Yeah, 100%. And in our business, I'll give you a little insight into me. Our business, we do video production primarily. We work in the legal field. We work with attorneys mostly. And we do social media content production for them in bulk. So we're producing 60 pieces of content a month for a client. And we might be producing a podcast for them. And before we start recording anything, I want to have 3-4 hours of just conversation with that client, because I got to get to know them. I got to get to know their voice. I have to listen to a lot of what they have to say to kind of craft what that content, because if the content's going to work, you have to be authentic. And so, yeah, we that time is really, it's an amazing thing. You got to, if you don't put the time in, it's like you're saying, if you don't go from 7:30 to 3:30 in the morning, you're not necessarily going to get the result that you want. So that time is so important, and using that time to really listen to who it is that you're working with. It's just, that's where the magic happens, in my opinion, is in that, when you're using that time to build that relationship up and get to know each other. So.
Well, I love that, because what you're doing, I've got a lot of referrals for you, brother.
Love it.
I do, because I've worked with a lot of lawyers over the years, teaching them. It's interesting because a lot of lawyers come to to my programs and learn how to influence, and it helps them in court. It helps them with their clients.
Yep.
And you think lawyers don't need this or priests don't need this. I find what I'm teaching, everyone really does need.
100%.
And who's going to take the time to do it is the question. But what I found is when people apply it, they have results they never imagined possible.
Yep. We see it every day. We see it every day. We see the growth in our clients from day 1 to month 6. They're a different person on camera because they've gotten comfortable in their own skin, and they're not worried about what they sound like or what they look like. And that's all that's all part of the time of putting it in. So love that message from you to put the time in, and just the listening is, I guess I feel like maybe a big part of having these difficult conversations to find alignment is really listening to what the other person has to say, and realizing their intent. I think you were saying that earlier, right? That they're realizing the intent of what they're saying. So,
well, I think also I have to add this: the biggest barrier I see to the tough conversations is ourselves. It is. It's that insatiable need to be right. It's looking outside yourself for the answer. So we blame others. We do all of that. But I find when I work on this, other people have to change how they engage with me. I don't have to change. I can't change them. I can't do anything to change you, Will. But if I change how I do things, you may change how you engage with me. And that's our real power. So that's what I love about it. When people come in, they come to work with me and they're like, well, this person's doing this. This person's doing this.
Right.
Wow. I hear that. Now, what can we do with you? The things you can control. How can you show up strong?
Love it. Greg, I could talk to you for an hour, man. Unfortunately, I got to do another podcast here in just a little bit, but I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I want to have you on again. And I've got some other people that need to talk to you. So I've got some people that I need to put you in front of as well. Really have enjoyed the conversation. This has been great. Let people out there know how they can find the book, how they can get in touch with you, if they, how they can get in touch with the business.
Yeah. For the book, just go to Amazon. I even have it on Audible if you want to listen to it. It's not me. I hired a professional because I can talk all day, but reading to a group, that's not my forte. And also go to alignment-resources.com. Don't forget the dash. But everything we do is there. You can reach out to me personally if you want to. I'll give you my phone number. 512-750-4734. Text
I got
me
it right here. I wrote it down earlier.
Yeah. Or just send it to Greg at alignment-resources.com. Love to have a conversation with you. It's one of the things, I don't sell anyone anything. You have to want to do what we want to do. And not everyone gets in, but when you want to do it, you will see different results in your life.
That's amazing. I love it. I love what you guys are, what you're doing, and the message you're putting out there. And I know you're making a difference for people. So love what you guys got going on, Greg. Those of you who are watching the live stream out there, we appreciate you guys tuning in. If you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify after the fact, or watching on YouTube after the fact, we appreciate you guys checking out the podcast as well. And we like the thumbs and the likes and the stars and all that good stuff as well. That makes a big difference into who is seeing the show and getting out there and getting our message out there, and letting people like Greg get his message out there as well. So we very much appreciate you guys. Be sure to keep tuning in. We got more episodes coming. I have another one coming in just a little bit here with another guest. I hope that they bring me as much good stuff as you brought here today, Greg. No pressure on that next guest, but you set the bar high, my friend.
Thank you, Will. I appreciate you having me on your show. Really.
Absolutely. And we'll see you guys back again for another episode of P4P very shortly. Until then, you guys take care, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Partnerships for Profit. We hope you've gained valuable insights on how to form profitable partnerships and take your business to the next level. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Got a partnership story to share or someone you'd like to see featured on the show? Reach out to us. Until next time, keep building those partnerships for profit.